I have something called classes with many fields, and well, so I really like C++. If you want to know, I currently work at Samsung Research Poland, but I can't really talk about anything involved there without going through a lot of paperwork. So, and it's not that interesting anyway, but I had a thesis back at university. It was called, are 4 fields in a class enough for everybody? That was supervisor's idea, and it got interesting in the smaller part, because the more mundane part, which was I coded a program with which couldn't use more than 4 fields in a class, was not that interesting. But there was a more interesting part where I looked at existing programs. So first of all, I had to decide how do we count those fields, and we had a very, I think, intuitive method of counting. So if something was substructured, then it was 1 field. An array was 1 field because it's a type of substructure. We didn't count function members and vtable pointers, because programmers don't do vtable pointers themselves. We had a base class. We didn't exactly know what to do about those, so we decided to go with 0, because otherwise the results were funky and distinguishing interfaces was too slow. Well, too hard to do in the timeline. So what we did is I made a collage warning from client ID, which says this class has 4 fields, for instance, for any class. I threw that at compile commands JSON for some programs, and then merged duplicate entries coming from headers. For CMake based things and for Chromium, that worked really well because paths were absolute. For other things, not so well, but pretty well enough. So we tested 5 programs. Chromium, Firefox, web browsers, big, independent from each other. LLVM, another big program, not a web browser. VLC, slightly smaller big program. Doom is a game. So I wanted something more messy there. So if you look at the results at first, they look kind of, well, the only thing you can see is that there are loads of classes with few fields and less so with many. So we go log. This looks a little better. Since there was a 0 and there's a log, we converted that 0 to a fraction so that you would know how things go. This is still a bit, you can see how this line goes, but there's some mess over there. And that's because of a problem with this chart, that when you have many fields, you distinguish between class that has 101 fields and 99 fields, which are really kind of similar overall. And the results look like they look. Here's another visualization of that problem. So I used the buckets based on 4 root of 2. So that first 8 fields or so get each own bucket. And that looks pretty good. In fact, you can run a linear regression with reasonable results. And it seems like if you have twice as many fields, you have more than twice, you have more than less than half of the resulting class count. Unless you're Doom and you have slightly more. So for the last few minutes, because it took more time than I expected, there are some links with very messy classes. This is thing that I found myself before. So as you can see, these are flags in a class, which are then put in something that has 200 or so fields written. Basically, you can look that up yourself later because I'm already over time. Thank you.